From humble beginnings with a desire to serve the Dudley community, Bank of Dudley has grown to 5 locations, serving Lawrence, Twiggs, and surrounding counties. Serving our community since 1905, the Bank of Dudley is looking forward to its second century of community banking. Drop in today to any of our 5 locations: Jeffersonville, Dudley, East Dublin, Veterans Boulevard, and downtown Dublin. Bank of Dudley, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender.
Hi, I'm Dr. Dustin Gay. I'm a local orthopedic surgeon with Houston Clinic Orthopedics, and we'd really like to invite everybody to come out to our new office facility to take a look at it. It's a larger space with physical therapy, and we're just excited to have it, and we'd love for people to come out and visit us.
Come by and see us today at our brand new location, the Houston Clinic, Medical Drive in Dublin. Welcome everybody. We're glad to have with us today. This is our annual visit. We actually visit more than that during the year, but we get together one time a year before the legislative session starts. And I was looking the other day, and I was just thinking we down in the country we say water under the bridge, but there's been a lot of water under the bridge since January 10th, 2011, when you were sworn in.
There has been a lot of water under the bridge, literally.
Yeah.
With the bridge over the Oconee River.
Yeah. No pun intended.
I remember that day when I got out of the car for the groundbreaking. There was a lady getting out of the car behind me, and she said, "Matt Hatchett, I never dreamed I would see this in my lifetime." And I'm like, well, it's here.
Yeah.
So,
well, we talked about it our life. I know I'm older than you, about 10 years or so, but we needed that bridge so bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's helped for many reasons.
Yeah.
And it's really, you drive, that road is busy, and it's,
yeah.
It's if you need to go to Sandersville or just the north, on that side of North Lawrence County, it's nice.
And you know, I said I was at the same groundbreaking or ribbon cutting, whatever we called it, but and I told somebody that same day that I would never use that because where I live, and Lord, if I don't use it more than I ever, because I'll leave the country club so many times at whatever event, and I can just turn right across the bridge and go on over to the east side of the river. So I have used it a lot, and I'm glad of that. Speaking of that, we got that under the T-Splice, and we were kind of grouped into multiple counties. And I remember Lawrence County, we actually voted no. We had more no's than yeses, I'll put it that way. But based on the region we were in, district,
approved it.
We got it, and therefore we got the bridge and a lot of other things. A lot of roads been paved. What's the next T-Splice coming down the road look like?
What's it look like?
Yeah.
Well, that'll be up to the county. You know, the county's involved.
But will it be? I was reading. We're going to vote on it on a county basis. Is that?
Well, the regional can stay in place. If you're in a region and it doesn't pass, and you're as a county, we switched that around 3 or 4 years ago, where you can, 2 counties can participate if they want. So, there's advantages and disadvantages to all of that. But I mean, you can. You couldn't readdress it for so many years, and it had to be the regions, but we changed it so it could be individual.
Okay.
In 1, 2, 3 counties, whatever. So,
okay. Well, it's been good for Lawrence County.
Yeah, it's been real good. And the never-ending project, Hillcrest Parkway, which that's part of it, and it's been on the plan since day. And it's, I sure hope we see the end of.
Yeah.
We see the end of the completion of that in 2022. I feel like we will. We better.
According to the city, and I listen to what Matthew Bradshaw, the engineers, our local engineers say, and he wouldn't tell us wrong. No, weather contributes. We know that, but speaking of Hillcrest, I remember, and I'm gonna go back in history here, but I remember when we built that from out at Highway 80 back, because in the old days when I was growing up, if you was on North Jefferson, you turned left onto I guess Hillcrest Boulevard
Street.
Parkway Street, yeah.
Yeah.
But it stopped at Claxton Dairy.
Yeah.
There was nothing. It was all woods out there.
Well, if you remember in '94, when I built Hangers Cleaners there, that was the first thing
Yeah,
on that corner.
yeah, just
And when I was growing up, Brookhaven was dirt. I used to ride it on my bicycles.
Yeah.
I mean, we've come along.
we have, yeah,
Long way.
and we're not. We don't live in the same little town you and I grew up
No,
in. I'll put it that way. We used to know everybody. I thought we did anyway. I'm sure we didn't know everybody, but we thought we knew everybody. And now I run into people all the time, and they're from wherever, Timbuktu, you know, that
We were
moved
driving
here.
when we were 14 and
Yeah.
15 and just waved at the police
Yeah.
chief. 'Cause
Yeah, that's right.
you know,
Those days have
Days are
changed.
gone,
And
yeah.
and Little League ball, we jump on the back of Daddy's pickup truck and go to Cadwell or Rents or wherever. And that's against the law now. So, but I told somebody yesterday, Matt, that we were talking about growing up. And when we were growing up, even getting a Coca-Cola was a big thing, you know, because back then you just didn't have Cokes around the house. You know, you went to the store. And Daddy would holler in the neighborhood I lived in. He'd say, "Kids, y'all want to go to town and get a Coca-Cola?" And every young'un in the in that part of the country.
A knee-high grape or a fat
Oh my
orange.
goodness! Oh my
Pack
goodness!
of Lance crackers.
We could talk about that all day, couldn't we? Hey, schools are going to be a hot topic this legislative session.
Yes.
Tell me what's going on?
Well, the budget is flush with cash right now, and it's going to be. I think we'll be funding education fully. I know we've over the past, I think last year, a couple of years, we've given some teacher raises. As far as policy and governance of the schools, I know the school choice issue is out there. It's getting stronger and stronger, and I know there's been some discussion about giving parents and children with special needs the ability to fund wherever they need to go to get what they need to be educated. So that's out there, and I know it's going to come up. Where it goes, I don't know, but I know some of that will be there. And
How hard is it to work through those processes?
It's well, the school choice issue's been out there for years.
Yeah.
And they just keep things keep evolving, and somebody will come up with a different idea, and the battle on all that's money, and I think we're getting to the point where some of it is needed, so we'll see.
Well, since you got money, got plenty of money, sounds like. What about health care in rural areas? What about increasing Medicaid, things like that?
I think Medicaid funding for a lot of different entities needs to be increased and made more of the market rate. You've got, here in our county, we've got a lot of doctors, dentists, other providers that don't take Medicaid, and it's because they don't get paid.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know a lot of them that may not take Medicaid, but if somebody comes in, they still help them too.
That's right.
I don't know that happens in the metro areas, but I know it happens in
does.
small towns. I know my dad did it. If somebody's in pain and hurting, you're going to help them.
Yeah.
I think we'll see some more funding probably for rural hospitals and providers. I mean, that's where we've done stuff over the course of time that doesn't make headlines or anything for different procedures and specialties and physicians and other providers that we that they come to us and say, hey, look, we hadn't had an increase in these procedures in 20 years. How about, and we'll do stuff. We've increased different things over 3 or 4 years, and it helps the provider. It helps get other providers to be providing that service. There was an article, I don't know if this is what you're referring to, I think it was, can't keep my time, so about 3 weeks ago on a Sunday, about Children's Healthcare of Atlanta and how much cash reserve they have. And that's brought up a lot of discussion. I've been on the forefront of trying to change Certificate of Need, CON laws, basically since I've been there. And there's some of that that's been discussed, been talked about, but you've got this hospital that does, it's great. I mean, they're a great hospital. They provide a lot of things for children in our state, and we love them.
Mm-hmm.
They've got $7 billion in cash reserve. They're building another new hospital, which is great.
Yeah.
But when you're a nonprofit entity and you have, quote, no owners, but the communities own you, they're a statewide hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really. I mean,
Yeah.
if you've got a child that needs something, got a serious issue, there's not a doctor I know in the state that won't try to send you, because that's where the experts are.
Yeah.
But let's share that money across the state. You could provide millions to hospitals across the state that are in the rural areas, that are funding a lot of non-paying
Yeah.
and Medicaid dollars, and keep them alive and vibrant to keep sending patients to CHOA, and they wouldn't miss it. But anyway, I'm not going to sit here and just talk about them, because there's other hospitals like that across the state too. And there's some ideas that are out there being knocked around. And I've talked to CHOA, and I've said, look, I think there's ways, they were worried about that. They thought it was give them a black eye, and it may have with some people, but it's showing that there's an opportunity for them to be a hero, even more so across the state. So I hope we can work with them and get some statewide solutions that they're on the forefront. So I fought for some legislation for them in 19 that, it's a long story, but I mean, it didn't happen, but they wanted it, and then they didn't. And there's reasons that they didn't.
Right.
It's just, anyway.
Well, the reason I brought up the question is I know that you are fighting for rural hospitals. I know that. People like you. Since you're our representative, I want to talk about that. But it's so important to rural Georgia. It's so important. Just because we need Atlanta. I support Atlanta, but we also need to support rural Georgia.
Well,
if it wasn't for Atlanta, we couldn't do rural Georgia.
And we're so fortunate here to have Fairview Park.
Yes.
They do so much for our community, and they're really great. And they're a for-profit entity.
Yeah.
And we kind of take that for granted, and they pay taxes.
Yeah.
But the majority of hospitals in this state are not for-profit. They're non-profit, and they pay some taxes on different things. But they pay higher salaries. To their executive. I mean, it's just there's kind of I think there's a little bit of. And these are giants in the healthcare world.
Yeah.
And they're a lot bigger than Matt Hatchett.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's some things I think we can all get to the table and try to help. Let's help everybody.
Yeah.
CHOA, maybe we should let's reduce some of the cost if you got that much money.
Yeah.
So it might make costs go down for everybody.
Seems like common sense.
And then you got the insurance company sitting there, they're hollering about it too. So I mean, you hope that let's reduce costs, and insurance companies can reduce theirs, and everybody, but greed is a terrible thing, James.
It is.
I mean,
it is. And it's a difficult, there's no easy solution.
No,
there
there's
really
not.
is,
There's not. And
we have to admit that. But how is it, and I don't want to use that word, plenty of money, but we are in good standing right now in the state of Georgia. But how is that with the fact that we are in the second year of this pandemic?
Well, we were fortunate that Brian, and there's arguments on both sides, but Brian Kemp didn't close the state down. Some states did. Before the pandemic hit, since I've been there, I'm backing up just a little bit. Since I've been there, we've been working on legislation to capture sales tax on internet sales. And we would pass a bill, and they would find a loophole. We'd pass a bill, they'd find a loophole. And then we'd get a little bit, and then there'd be another loophole. So over the off session from 2019 to 2020, Brett Harrell, who's no longer in the House, but he was our chairman of Ways and Means. He negotiated and got all the players to the table and said, look, we're doing this, and y'all got to come to the table, or you're going to, you know, like they say, if you're not invited to the dinner, you're on the menu. So they were all there, and they had the legislation worked out, and before session went in, the governor agreed to the legislation, Senate agreed to the legislation, and the House agreed. So it was an early bill. We all passed. Governor signed it like this in February, and it was effective April 1st. Well, we suspended middle of March because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But and that's, you know, things started closing, but we began capturing the sales tax on internet sales, and it helped. You had a lot of, you know, federal money coming in, paying people. We were taking the taxes out on that. These are probably people in the past that have never
That's right.
paid, and you know, because the unemployment benefits were going to people that have never gotten unemployment benefits and that never filed and never got a regular paycheck. They were W-9 employees. So, I mean, just a lot of different factors. So that's one reason, you know, we've stayed where we are. That our economy is continuing to prosper. I mean, it's, you know, the unemployment is a record low. You know, it's just, we got more people on the payroll than we've ever had. We're just fortunate. I mean, we're the, what was it? We've been the #1 state in the nation to do business for I think 8 years now, and it's paying off. You see every week Governor Kemp's announcing some expansion or new business. You know, so it's paying off.
Yeah, it is.
And we are, you know, we've been conservative. And during the pandemic, we cut the budget because we didn't know what was going to happen. But we're flush right now, which is a good thing and a bad thing. You know, if we don't do something to reduce taxes, you know, we got to do that. And there's a lot of talk about eliminating the income tax, and that won't. I don't think that'll occur. I mean, it's a lot of money. And one of the reasons we have such good bond ratings and can borrow money for infrastructure things, roads, bridges, and all that, is because we have a balanced revenue stream. We've got different pots that we pull out of, and not just one pot. So that's, I think.
Well, we want to continue to be the best state to do business in, and it does take money. You know, we all know that. But one thing during the pandemic, I'll say, obviously with the station, I talked to a lot of businesses every week, and all through COVID, Dublin and Lawrence County, the business people succeeded through that pandemic. Now you have to back up sometimes and punt, do business a little different way, or figure out a different plan. But you know, probably 8 out of 10 businesses, you'd have very few, 1 or 2 out of the 10 that was not doing good. And you can always look attitude a lot of times, not looking at the, you know, not being able to regrow. I always done it this way. You know, some people, we don't want to change. But I know the businesses here succeeded all through COVID. And that's,
I won't say succeeded, but they kept going.
They made money.
They kept the doors open, kept
That's
going.
right.
They had to let people go or lay them off.
Well,
and that's
right.
when your unemployment comes into play, and it just,
you figure out a way.
Right. That's what we do as Americans.
Yep. Another thing during the pandemic that to me it shed a light on the mental health problem. And I think every time we have a legislative session, I ask you and Larry Walker the same question every year. I always ask you about it because dealing with my homeless ministry, I deal with a lot of mental health issues. It is a major problem. What are we going to do there?
Well, mental health is one of the governor, one of the speakers, basically one of my main thing I want to be working on this session. I've worked right now on some the licensing requirements for all the different mental health providers. I've had our planning office at the Capitol do a study for me on comparing the licensure requirements to all the other southeastern states and where we stand. They've gotten me the preliminary results, and there's 3 different categories of that provider that we're way high on. Mm-hmm. And my argument is, well, if it works in the other states around us, why can't we do it? And what that would do would speed up provider, that pipeline of providers in the workforce. So you get them in there quicker. So that's one thing. There are private providers of mental health that we have across the state that are asking for some changes. I won't go into the details, but I actually was on the phone with one last night about 8 o'clock. There are things like they're called IMDs, intermediate mental health. If they're private providers, they have emergency rooms. But if you go to their emergency room and you got on Medicaid, they can't get paid, but they got to provide you with service. So, so we can do something to help them there. We've got beds across this state that you, as a taxpayer, pay to be open. And from what I'm being told is that these beds that you and I are paying for can also get private pay patients too, which is okay if there's room for all those that can't pay. Well, there's a problem there. There's a disconnect. And you've got private. I've been told there's plenty of beds out there for mental health, but they're not all ones that can take people that can't pay on Medicaid. So we've got to work on trying to get that balanced out. Yeah. And there's some other things we can do within the organizations to help a little bit with staffing. Staffing is an issue, and the pandemic, I don't think everybody knew that it was already an issue, but it just exacerbated that whole problem.
It did.
And then and then the pandemic scared a lot of people out of it.
Yeah.
And I understand,
Yeah.
But we've, then another thing I don't know what the percentage, but a large percent of those with mental health problems have got substance abuse problems too. So we've got to look at that and try to. That's just a whole nut. That's dealing with every aspect of how it gets here. All that. So I mean, but they still have a problem.
Yeah.
And we got to work with them and help them and try to get them help. I mean, and it's. And that's something that we can help get done because we've got some money.
Yeah.
And I hope, we hope that the funding will sort of continue. We still don't know if it's not just still a bubble effect from all the federal money that has been pumped into the country, printed, which we can't do.
No.
So I mean,
State of Georgia can't do that.
No, we'll I think some of it still probably is after effects of that, but. Only time will tell, but right now, we've got to do something to help fund a lot of this.
Yeah, and Denise Forbes and her staff, Community Service Board of Middle Georgia, does a phenomenal job. They work with us with the City of Hope. Incredible. I mean, people don't realize how fortunate we are.
Oh, we are, and they cover
for what they do. 15 counties.
Yeah, we'll say 15
not just us, and we're a big one. Size-wise and population, and we increased in population.
I'll text her, and I know she gets a text from me. She's like, "Oh gosh," But I mean, when people are reaching out to me, they're usually at their last straw.
Yeah,
and she knows that.
That's
and I'll text her. And she's helped recently with a case. I mean, it's just help. A lot of times it's just and this is where having more social workers. Where do I go?
Yeah.
What do I do? I need help. What can and we reached out to one gentleman 2 weeks ago that has a son that's blind, and he's getting older, the wife's getting older, and with all the happenings the last 2 years, he started thinking about what's going to happen to my son when I'm gone. So and he called and said, "Look, Matt, we get this, but there's bound to be some more. I'm just worried. I want to make sure that when I'm gone, that my son can carry on." I said, "This is It's great to do." So we're trying to help him find out what all's out there. And we don't even know, but we're connecting them with different people. So I mean, that's the fun part of the fun part of our job. It's what people say when you help people.
That's right.
And
And people like this gentleman, he wants his son taken
Right,
care of.
right.
And you do.
Well, he can do some things, but
Yeah.
he's blind. You know,
Yeah.
he's going to need help.
That's right.
And that's what Medicaid was originally designed for.
That's
Age,
right.
blind, and disabled.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's one of the categories. So
Yeah. Let's
there's
take-
nobody in this world, I don't think, maybe in this world. but,
Yeah.
I mean, somebody like that needs help.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We help each other.
We need
So
that safety net
Right.
for people like that. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
The City of Dublin Natural Gas provides the most cost-efficient source of energy available today. So for your home, choose the most natural resource. Safe, clean, efficient. All new subdivisions around the Dublin area have natural gas available. Start reducing your energy bills today with Dublin City Natural Gas Department. Natural gas, the smart choice. Call 277-5048 today and let us help you start saving today.
My name is Phil Patel. I am one of the part owners here and the general manager here at the Hampton Inn and Suites. First time when I got introduced to Morris Bank, the people were so friendly and helpful. You feel like that you are appreciated there. At Morris Bank, everybody down at the bank is so friendly, and not just to myself, they're just friendly to everybody. They want us to succeed because our success is their success at the same time. That makes a lot of difference, and they're always there for us.
Welcome back, everybody. Continue my conversation with Matt Hatchett, and it's election year. 2022, I can't believe it's already here. The session's about to start, but what about election reform? Have we fixed the election process so we don't have the same fiasco we had in 2020?
James, I think we fixed so we don't have the same thing that happens in 2020. Some say we didn't go far enough. Some said we went too far. We put a lot of things in place that are safeguards and stopgaps and things that if we see an issue, we can definitely go in and investigate. I've heard some discussion that possibly may do some tweaks to that this year. And I'm not going to say we will or we won't, but I mean, it's out there being discussed. So and some of it's being discussed on the statewide with some of the statewide candidates. But I think we've done a lot. And I mean, we don't need to rehash it, I think.
That's
but
right.
we heard all about it.
Yeah.
I had a meeting here in Dublin with probably about 75 residents that were on the opposite side as I was, and I think we had a good meeting. And they knew where I was coming from and how I felt, and I knew how they felt. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but I think I squelched some rumors that they were seeing as fact, and we've done a lot of stuff. You got one of the little things, but they're big things. I mean, each election superintendent has got to report at by 10 o'clock that night how many votes are cast. All of them.
Yeah.
The number.
Yeah.
And that should be. We're not saying result. How many people cast a ballot?
Yeah.
And that.
We're on
that's
computer
number
now.
one. Yeah. I mean, and even we backed up the time where you have to request your absentee ballot because they were asking for it, up until the day or maybe a few days before. But the post office wanted us to back it up 2 weeks. We did 11 days, and that way your elections office can start functioning and working on those that have already been turned in. So they can already be processing them, not hitting calculate, but
That's
they can
right.
tabulate all those. So at night on election day, all they got to do is hit a button. They're already in there. We know how many those votes, the
Yeah.
results of.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's things we've done to hopefully make everybody more efficient.
Well, I think you ought to take Susan Rooks and Genola Jackson and train these people, because the way our local registrar's office, probate offices, the way they run things, and I can tell you, now they can't let everybody in, but Peyton Towns and myself has free reign back there. We see the votes from all 17 or so precincts coming in. We watch them, take them out of the envelope. They're very they're
we got a system
they're very
now,
transparent.
and we're fortunate.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
they're
and
not hiding nothing.
No, and it's not like that all the way across the state. You
Yeah,
and I know that.
that's
but I
right.
mean, we've put things in place. We've put training in place. We've let both parties know that you can have these people here. You got to get them here.
Yeah.
We're not good. I think the state will train some of them, but I mean it's. The stuff's in place to get it correct and get things done. I mean, I could go
Yeah.
on and on and on about it.
But
I mean, I think
we feel like we got it. We're a lot better off than we were.
Very.
Yeah.
Very.
I ask you next question every year, and I get different answers, but and I'm against it. But sports betting, I'm totally against it. I say that every year. But anyway, where do we stand there?
The fact is that there's a lot of sports betting going on right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I agree.
And it is part of the gambling world that can be done and voted on, and only needs 91 votes as opposed to 120. And I think we were real close to having something worked out last year to vote on. I can foresee that we probably will vote on that this year. But I don't know. Gambling's been being talked about since I've been there.
Yeah.
And I read something the other day, and it was something back in the 70s, and gambling. I mean, it's been going on for a long time.
And so has gambling been going on. We know that.
Yeah,
I mean,
and so it's with the sports betting, it's happening now. And there's actually, I think, the largest segment of the population that's voting on sport. I mean, not voting, betting on sports is like the 25 to 40. I mean, it's that group, and they're the ones that are following these sports like crazy.
Yeah.
And you can bet on,
Yeah.
which way the wind's blowing on what day. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, and they're doing it. So I think the estimation is that it would bring $50 to $60 million into the state.
Yeah.
And the battle has been, where does that money go? Does it go to Hope? Does it go to Hope for needs-based scholarships? Does it go to health care? There's all these, everybody's got their own idea.
Everybody got their hand in the pot.
And so, I mean, that's, I think you would see that. Then the whole gambling issue of casinos, horse racing, all the other stuff, which, you can race horses now, you just can't bet on them.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's out there. Of all of them, I kind of the horse racing is the part of me that I kind of think is the only thing I think that would help the whole state.
Right.
Because it will bring. You're not going to be raising horses in Metro Atlanta. Now the outskirts, maybe some people do, and those.
Maybe you'd be doing it in Hawkinsville.
Well, but yeah,
Places like
Hawkinsville. I
that.
mean, Lawrence. I mean,
Yeah.
places where you can let the horses run,
Yeah.
and I mean, and you got hay, and you got the things you need, and you
Yeah.
got the expertise. So that's the only piece of it I think that would really help economically wise across the state from an agriculture standpoint. And then there are advantages you have for a foal dropping on state, state property. There's different benefits if you get into the gambling world. So, but where is that going to go? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to vote on it several years ago, and we didn't.
Yeah.
So,
Crime is rampant all across the country. Is there anything that the state legislature can do to make our community safer?
I'm sure there's different things we can do and different laws. You think about it. There's laws in place to prevent, many things,
Right.
and there's always something a little new.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
what about the
I
hate
think-
crime bill y'all passed?
Yeah, the hate crimes bill. I think it was needed. We did it. I think it's helped and
Is it strong enough?
I think it's pretty strong. I mean, it gives those in that field, the lawyers and the judges, the ability to do that or not do it. I mean, it's a separate part that has to be proven.
Do you think people that assault or kill law enforcement officers, should that be a hate crime?
I'm not sure we defined it as a hate crime, but we defined crimes on police with stronger offenses.
Okay.
I mean, we that was done at the same time.
Okay.
When we did the hate crimes bill, we also increased the charges and the penalties for doing stuff with law enforcement. And law enforcement, including public safety, firemen, EMS, all of those, not just policemen.
Okay.
So
Yeah, because they're put in harm's way.
Yeah.
Those
No.
first responders, if there's a shootout going on, and they're firemen or EMTs, whatever, they're in the crossfire. What about like in Atlanta this past year? It just hurts me when I see businesses being burned and public buildings being burned. What about that?
There are laws in place.
Well,
that-
we
that
know
hold
there
that.
can't burn a building, but
that whole last year that was awful.
Yeah.
And fortunately or unfortunately, it kind of settled down after a little while in Atlanta, and and where we come into play, I guess it really, Atlanta's our, whatever you want to call it, our mecca.
yeah,
And having a relationship with the mayor of that city and the leaders of that city is so important for us because we're all there, and we're, I tell people what's good for Atlanta is good for Georgia, what's good for Georgia should be good for Atlanta.
Amen.
I mean, we gotta, it's there, Atlanta's there. You can't seem to go anywhere without going through
Yeah.
it. But I think, I hope you don't see that again. What I've read so far about the new mayor, he's very open to discussion. He's a lawyer. He's already reached out to the I think,
Speaker.
to the
He
governor,
did.
leader,
I
speaker.
saw him call the
and that's
speaker.
that's
That
reaching
shows
out.
he's
And-
serious. I saw in the Atlanta Journal Constitution the next day after the election, he called the speaker. That shows me a mayor that wants to work with the speaker, and the
Right.
speaker I know wants to work. He's been wanting to work with the mayor.
When we've had committee, we've got a study committee right now, and people laugh about study, but I mean they bring things to light.
Yeah.
And those Atlanta police, there was a ton of Atlanta policemen left because they didn't feel supported, and I don't blame them.
No.
But anyway.
We need law, and we're for law. People like us, people watching us right now, we're all for law. We're for law enforcement. And you got to admit, this community we live in, we support. They talk about that blue line. There's a lot of people standing on that thin blue line supporting those police officers and sheriff deputies. And we, the people of Dublin, Lawrence County, and I know here because we live here, people here support law enforcement.
Right.
It just shows. It shows. We've weathered a lot of storms that a lot of people didn't weather because we stand together as a people by supporting the law.
Well, and our community's been hit hard by
Yeah.
what we've discussed
Yeah.
this last few
Yeah.
months.
Yes.
And I mean, look at what happened this last weekend.
Yeah.
That lady shot that guy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's.
We'll never solve it all.
No,
Yeah, we'll never
keep
solve it
working
all.
on it, so.
We talked about money a while ago. The college and university, I was reading the list from Georgia Southern or Savannah State and Savannah Technical, and they all want money. It may be for Savannah Technical wants $700,000 for furniture and furnishings, and Georgia Southern needs money for this, and I'm sure the University of Georgia and Georgia Tech. Now, how do y'all balance those things? How do you figure it out?
Well, the regents send us or send recommendations to the governor. The governor includes, what he wants to do in the budget. There's usually some money in there that we can help try to get different things in the budget too for capital projects. I know that over the next, I don't know how many years it is, but your population of available students going to these universities is down. I mean, it's because there's not as many. The population was been a time when we weren't growing as fast as we were. So they're all fighting for those students a lot harder. So that to me kind of says, okay, well, do we need to continue building all these different things, or do we just need to renovate some existing structures and maybe update them and make them to make them more attractive to these units. I think we've got an adequate supply of available space. It may not be being used the way we need it to be best used. You know, there's the Board of Regents and our university system. You know, it's a lot of money in our budget, but they are, you know, they're separate.
Yeah.
I mean, but we.
So what's the
do
total
them.
budget for Georgia?
I think last year was 27.2 billion. That's state money.
Right.
So I think when you throw in federal funds and what we run through, it's I think 53 or 54 billion. So I tell everybody that, you know, the governor is the CEO of a $50 billion
Fortune
corporation.
500.
Yeah, I mean, so
It is.
It's and the people that do all that work are very important, and I know we don't pay them enough to run it, but they hang around and do it. So I mean, that was even, I'm not sure if that was our largest, but it's close to our largest budget, because we did, you know, for the 21 we honed it down. So.
Okay, let's take another break. We'll come back and wrap things up.
Drop by today and see the winning team at Lakes Alignment and Truck Service in East Dublin. We're now offering tires and service for all your agricultural and farm equipment. At Lakes, we've got you covered on the road or in the field. Big truck alignment, industrial tire pressing, and commercial truck service. So join the winning team at Lakes Alignment and Truck Service, and now offering agricultural tire service. No matter where you are, call 272-4230 and our service trucks are rolling to you. Lakes Alignment and Truck Service, serving you at the same location right behind Thomas Auto Supply since 1954. So grab the family and head on out to the field. This football season, you're sure to be on a winning team when you join the team at Lakes Alignment and Truck Service, and now Agricultural Tires and Service. Lakes Alignment, East Dublin.
Welcome back, everybody. Continuing my conversation here with Matt. Film and entertainment. We do a lot of tax credits there.
Yes.
Is that important?
I think it's important for what they've brought to the table, what their the industry and the business has come. A lot of talk every year about lowering it, getting rid of it, and I think that I know we put some protections and limits on certain things, that parts of that they could do. I think 2 years ago. You know, I don't think we capped it. That's something else we could possibly do. We've got a lot of the tax credits that are laying out there because they can be used. I don't know that there's a deadline on when they can be used. And they are, I think they are transferable. And that's how different companies get in there and they sell them from one to the other, make a little money on them. But I think they're here to stay.
Yeah, good.
You know, they provide a lot of jobs. I mean, for carpenters and electricians and plumbers. I mean, all that stuff, because all these sets have to be built. And there's a lot of movie houses out there and studios that are basically just humongous warehouses.
Yeah.
And they, you know, I know I've got a friend that, I mean, he does their dry cleaning for them. You don't think about it. He'll go and pick up their stuff at midnight and have it back to them at 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, there's all sorts of industry that has benefited from them.
We have businesses in Dublin, now that you mentioned that part, that benefit from, and we don't have any studio sets here, but they benefit from the movie industry. So,
I mean, the bamboo.
Yeah.
I think that Ray Peterman is bamboo. I mean, he sells to the movies.
Yeah.
So it's just all sorts of lumber they buy. You know, the stores up where they are. I mean, I've talked to one of them one time because we've toured quite a bit of them, and one of the owners of one of the wood, you know, like, you know, the different lumber yards that, like, look, I don't know what I'd have done through the recession without them buying lumber from us. So.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been
and
good.
there's some radical people involved, but I think most of the radical ones are still out in California.
Yeah, good.
I do. I mean, I think that's where you have some of the technical people that have moved here, but I think the brunt of that workforce is homegrown people.
Yeah, it
So,
seems to be.
Yeah.
What about, let's talk about abortion. We're waiting on a ruling from the Supreme Court now. The law in Texas and Mississippi are very strict abortion laws. We have a strict abortion law here in Georgia, y'all passed a few years ago. Will y'all wait on that ruling from the Supreme Court, or will y'all attack that this
I would
session?
think we'll wait.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we have a pretty strong abortion bill in the state, and somebody will probably, somebody drops legislation or introduces legislation every year for different things, but
Be
I don't-
smart
I
to
don't-
wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, see what happens.
Yeah. I think a lot of eyes are watching that right now.
right.
So, y'all did a special session. You've done redistricting.
Right.
Tell me first of all about your new district and how did redistricting go?
Well, the district I represent right now, which is District 150, is most of Lawrence, but not all of Lawrence. Most of Johnson, not all of Johnson, and all of Truitland. So we lost, basically, we were losing, I think, 4 seats south of I-20, or 5 seats south, but 4 seats below the gnat line. And so there's going to be less rural reps, southern of the states.
And more in the metro.
Right. And so, the new district that I hopefully will represent is District 155. So there's 5, it's gone from 150 to 155. And it will be all of Lawrence and all of Johnson. So it worked real nice. Butch Parrish from over in Swainsboro picked up Truitland.
Okay.
And I think he's represented them before. It'll be nice, clean. We've got the other 2 gentlemen that represented Lawrence County are now drawn together in a district that stretches from,
Blakely?
well, I think it goes even up Twiggs and north, Wilkinson, Twiggs, Blakely, Dodge, Telfair. I mean, it's a
Wow.
long, so there'll be there, and then we've got 2 drawn together that are south, 2 drawn together on the southwest corner, and there's one more. I can't remember which one. But
So you're telling me, what I'm hearing you say is the House and the Senate will probably be flipped to the Democrats.
No.
You're not going to say that on
No,
camera, is
not
what?
at all. No, that's not going to happen.
Well, if you're losing rural,
Well, but we've got a couple of seats, I think, in the metro that
Okay.
we may pick up that we haven't had
because
before.
when I go to y'all's website and go down an alphabetical list, it's like, I mean, all I'm looking at is Democrat, Republican, however, and that's what I saw. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard.
it's going to be difficult, but
You got a plan,
we got a plan. And I'm pretty involved with that plan. So 4 years ago, when I went to bed, we had lost like 6 seats. Woke up, we had lost, I think, 12. We went to work immediately and decided we can't do things like we've been doing. And we had a campaign in 20 for the House that spent over $5 million from our caucus coffers and put in races all across the state, and we lost 2. But I think you're going to see us maintain. We're at 103 Republicans right now. I think you'll see us at. I'll be shocked if we even reduce below 103. If we reduce, I think we'd get 100 maybe. But I foresee us maybe growing a little bit. We got some really good candidates that you would like, in North Atlanta. We got some female candidates. We got Asian. We got both.
Good.
We've got people that want to be involved, and I think with the way things are flowing right now, maybe it'll be good. Yeah, we've got a gubernatorial race that's going to be. We'll all be tired of seeing their ads by the time it gets here. But I mean,
it's going to be tough. Isn't
you're
it?
going to. I hope and pray that you'll see the Republican Party unite and get coalesce against in that gubernatorial race.
Yeah.
And I'll beg. For
And,
that to
and we
happen.
have a Senate race.
Right.
That's going
Right.
to be hard fought.
Right.
And we do have some good Republicans that are going against each other, but then again, they'll all come together in the end. So, but you know, the last governor's race, and there was a lot of problems involved. But what was it? 1.6% difference in the vote, about 56,000 vote difference. That's not a lot in a state with 10 million or so 11 million people.
Yeah.
So, but it sounds like by your previous answer, y'all kind of ironed out the kinks in the reform. And we all want fair elections. Everybody, I don't care what party you are, you should want fair elections.
Every colleague of mine that's from the other party that I asked, did they like their district maps? They all loved them, but they couldn't vote for it.
Well, that's a good
anyway,
thing. Yeah.
You know, so we've.
Well,
I think we're okay in the House. I think we're okay in the Senate. You know, we have a senator in the southwest of the state that's running for ag commissioner, and he, because he wasn't running, that kind of helped all of his. So I think they're going to be maybe one down.
Well, you answered earlier in the interview. You answered the most rewarding part of your job. You love helping people, and but I got to know, what's the most difficult part of serving in the state legislature?
Downtime. I mean, it you know, it becomes your life, and you know, regardless of what else you're doing, and you know, you have to make a conscious effort to talk with people about things other than politics.
Yeah.
I mean, because politics is not reality. I mean, you know, you know, I try to talk about people's families and talk about what's, you know, and the older we get, you sit there and go, oh my God, you know, today's my daughter's 23rd birthday.
Right.
I'm like, she was 11 when I went in. Oh my gosh, you know. So I mean, that's the hardest part.
Yeah. Well, but you do get to know people, and
Right.
And
I've had some great opportunities that I would have never had.
And when it's all said and done, politics ain't important. It's families and those relationships that we get. We talked early on about life, and you know, the Bible says life's a vapor, then we vanish, and we see at our age that vapor in our life. And really, and Don Johnson, he's been dead and gone for years, but he told me one time, he was a Georgia Tech grad, but he said, James, if you get to the end of your life and you have 6 true friends to tote your casket, you've done well. And you know, you think about, and you knew him.
My dad is funny. He said, Matt, the older you get, the fewer friends you have and the less you care.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, but anyway, it was just.
That's so true, though. Yeah, we used to care about everything, you know, in our teen years. Oh, everything, everybody had to like you, everything, and you want to be liked, but it's way on down the priority list. You know, if you're comfortable with what you're doing, and you've represented us well. You've changed, the redistricting has changed a few times for you.
Right.
I think you was first district 140 something, wasn't you?
143, and I represented all of Lawrence in one precinct in Johnson. And then it went to 3 counties, you know, first, right after I was in, the first year.
150, and you lost Cadwell, I think.
Right.
Jimmy got Cadwell, and you got the rest of the county, I believe. But anyway, that's part of the politics. But last question. I don't think y'all decided yet. Will we be moving the Georgia primary, do you think?
I don't think so. I know there's been talk about that, and it was because of redistricting and how redistricting was delayed. The last time I talked to the redistricting office in Atlanta was around the 1st of December. 100 and something of the counties had already been to handle all their redistricting. And we vote on that, but they're getting it, you know, so it's all in place.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it wouldn't happen, but I think we'll still have qualifying, which is that, second or third week of March. And, then the primary would be May the 24th, I think.
That's right, May 24th, qualify March 7th. A lot of big races this year. Let me ask you before you go. I really want y'all one day to change running every 2 years. It seems like you're running all the time. Is that ever going to change?
You know, even when I was running, I thought it would be 4 years. I thought it would be good to change the term to 4 years, but then set a limit, you know, 12, 16, whatever years it needs to be. Because it's, you know, it's taken me 8 to 10 years to be able to really have a little influence. People don't understand that, but it's
it's
you know,
important.
you've got to build relationships where people trust you, you know, I think I don't know that I don't know that it would ever take place where there'd just be elections on every 4 years. I think the media, your world controls it because it's the advertising dollars.
But you could do half and half.
Yeah, I mean, do the Senate every 2.
That's
and then
right.
skip and do the House and the Senate.
That's right.
So
There's a
that's
way
one
to
thing
do it.
There's a way to do it. It just
Well, when we took our superintendents out of the process, I thought was good. You know, so they're not running for office all the time. Let them manage the schools, and seems like Congress and legislature. It just seems you're always running. You're always running. But anyway, maybe one day we'll solve that. We keep talking about it long enough. But anyway, anything you want to add before I go?
I'd like to just thank you for always doing this. It's a pleasure. It's fun. It's not like we're in an interview, really focused discussion. But you know, right now, the COVID numbers are up dramatically. This latest, you know, variant is evidently much more contagious, but hopefully not as critical. But I would just say, people, please continue to take caution.
Yes.
I mean, you know, the governor's not going to come out with any mandates, I don't think. I mean, he said he didn't, but I mean, things can change. I mean, y'all know that. But I mean, if you don't have a problem wearing a mask, wear a mask. If you think you're sick, just go check, go get checked, go make sure. You know, they've got these self-tests now. You can go get tested. I've seen don't go to the hospital just for a test because they're busy working on the people that are sick. So go get a test. Take it serious. And I think what the word is endemic. I think that's endemic. And it's, you know, this is possibly going to be something like the flu and how we get a shot every year. You know, you get a shot, and some people get a flu shot and some don't. So, I mean, it's still, you still have that right, and those that want them can,
it's
and
America.
those that don't. Right. I mean, but I think, you know, it's here to stay for a while, and it's changed our life. But hopefully we can get it where it's manageable. So I know you and I both have a friend, and I'll do a shout out to him that spent 70 days on a ventilator that's my age.
Yes.
And he's a miracle. He's here. And
Truly a miracle.
He is. I hadn't gone to see him yet because I hadn't been able to. The one day I was thinking about it, I woke up that morning with the sniffles and all that. I was like, I better not go see him. But he's alive and kicking and doing well and recovering, getting stronger every day.
And we love him.
He told me he was so weak, he couldn't even press the button on the remote. He was trying and he couldn't even do it. So he's a miracle, and God works miracles. We know that.
God's still in the miracle business. There's no doubt.
And that's another, he brought up, they talked to me about the visitation bill. We didn't talk about that. That allows for a legal caregiver to be with you in the hospital.
Praise the Lord.
And the bill, I was very supportive because of what I went through with my mother. Had his wife not been with him, he firmly believes he would not be here today, because the healthcare workforce is so covered up, they can't be everywhere all the time. And I hope that we readdress that issue. It didn't pass, and I'm not really sure why, but I think that's something else we'll probably take up again.
That's so important.
Because, you know, there's, you know, if you're in an ICU, that's different help. That's different care.
Yeah.
But if you're in a room, then why can't somebody make them stay?
Yeah.
they can't leave.
Once you get there, you can't stay. Take the precautionary, wear a mask, wear a gown,
Right.
whatever. There's a way, there's protocol that you can
And that's
do.
one reason our mental health is, there's a lot of people that are having issues now because, they couldn't be, nobody
Gosh.
can be with them.
That's got to be the worst thing, Matt.
I can't imagine being in a nursing home or assisted living and not being able to see anybody.
Yeah.
I just,
It's just it is, but Wes, we've talked about it many times here on the station, but that is truly a miracle. And as I said, God's still in the miracle. It's not just biblical things. There's miracles happening every day amongst us. And the last thing about COVID, we had a lot of friends that were here this time last year. Butch Miller, Dr. Vega, people like that. So many people, Chuck Harwell. Everybody sitting at home right now is probably saying a name. Yeah, this person at my church or wherever, that they're not here now, that we had them last year. And we miss them. It don't matter if they were big in the community or a father in their family.
Right.
They're just as important to that person that lost them. So wise words, but this strain is important, and please take precautions. My wife told me asked me last night, she said, James, do we need to start wearing a mask again? I said, yeah, I think we do, because I'm out everywhere all the time, and I don't want to give it to my mom and dad. They're in their 80s, and it's just, that's too much weight on me if I pass it along and you lose your parents. Well, wise words there, brother. Always good to talk with you.
Tony, thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, and thank you for joining us today on TV 35.